like does
They
really
actually
make a big
work? Oh,
difference.
wow.
Yeah.
So all you people out there that have student debt, there's hope for you as well. So there's no limitations. Welcome again to another episode of Get Real Estate with Liz. Today I have a special guest, Daniel Montoya. Daniel, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and who you are?
Yeah. Thanks for having me. My name is Daniel. And so I am actually I work for a creative agency.
Mhm.
And I moved back up to Paso Robles not too long ago, about like 2 years ago.
Mhm.
Like my work is remote. So I was kind of able to go into different like areas, but started to spend more time up here. And it's really nice to kind of come back up to my hometown and spend more time up here. But yeah, and then that's kind of how we reconnected.
That's right. And Daniel, right now you mentioned something about your job being remote. I know that you're a first time home buyer. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's it's a mix of many emotions. So it's both nerve-wracking, exhilarating, exciting. But at the end of the day, I'm very happy.
In other words, a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, roller coaster. Roller coaster of emotions, but really happy and proud. I would say proud is one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, proud for sure. What made you make that decision to finally say, "Hey, I want to be a homeowner today"?
Yeah, it's been a long time kind of like goal and dream of mine. I was actually, one of the things that prevented me from being a homeowner for a long time was student debt.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of was like a black cloud over me for many years. So I never really thought that I could make it, to become a homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
But with time and with different things that have like happened, I've been able to overcome like that student loan debt and such. And and once I was really able to kind of go past that, it really opened up a lot of doors.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've just wanted to, kind of make that first step
That
of
first step.
yeah.
So, I have a question for you. So you said you had a lot of student debts. Was that did the lender tell you, or was that just more like mental um setback from you as an individual, like, oh, I have that debt and I have to pay that,
hmm
let me take care of this first? Or was it because somebody told you?
No, it was a lot of debt that and nobody really told me. I just
Mm-hmm.
kind of, knew when I like looked at my stuff. I'm like, okay, that doesn't look very great. And then as time kind of like went on, I just, focused on improving my like debt and like versus my like income on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And making sure that that was something that I think would look better when I
Mm-hmm.
went to like apply for a loan. And yeah, it did hold me back for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
But as time went on, I took like care of it. And to be completely honest with you, some legislation passed, and I was able to get some of it like pardoned
Mm-hmm.
by Congress and such. So I'm, like I'm proof of somebody that those small kind of like helps from the government like does
They
really
actually
make a big
work? Oh,
difference.
wow.
Yeah.
So all you people out there that have student debt, there's hope for you as well. So there's no limitations.
Yeah.
So basically it was more like self-control, that you were like, okay, I have this payment, and it wasn't necessarily somebody that kind of just shut you down. It was just more you were mentally preparing yourself, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I knew that I couldn't take on anything else
Mm-hmm.
besides, like what I currently had on my plate, which
Mm-hmm.
was pretty big student loan stuff. So that's why I kind of held off for a long time. And I know there's kind of like, people talk about there's like a
Mm-hmm.
crisis of that right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel that I'm kind of one of the lucky ones that was kind
Mm-hmm.
of able to get out from under that. But yeah, just as you said, there are ways, I think there's a lot of things happening too in the near future that could provide a lot of students with relief.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm assuming that's a whole completely different conversation as
No,
far
but
as
that's great, because we do have a lot of younger kids that have a lot of student debt, and they're afraid to ask for resources because they, not necessarily that they're afraid, they just don't know where to go. And so they kind of, closure themselves, or they limit themselves from moving forward or asking questions, or finding out what can be beneficial for them, basically. So this is a great point. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually I held a lot of shame for it for a long time, you
But
know.
there's nothing to be ashamed for.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's true.
And those resources are there for help. So take advantage of them while you can. That's what I tell everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Take advantage.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
Yeah, just like we have a lot of programs for first time home buyers. I know in your case was a little bit different, but we do have USDA, CalHFA down payment assistance. And a lot of the times people think like, oh, I'm not going to apply for that loan because they're going to look at me differently, or they're not even going to consider my offer, or, kind of like a shame. But in reality, those programs are there to help you. Like take advantage of those programs where you can save money, in your pocket, basically. So why spend money that you can save?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then when I finally did make the leap into trying to qualify for a home loan, I knew that I wasn't going to be one of the candidates that went in with a big down payment, with the 20% or more of
Why
that.
not? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, next time, hopefully. So I knew that I was gonna have to get a bit, more creative, and was gonna have to really talk to my lender about what my options were. But luckily, I did find something that is more of a smaller down payment made tailored for first time home buyers. Actually, it's something that I was hoping to be a part of was the Dream for All. But the requirements changed for that right
Right.
as before, at the beginning of this year, which would have it did disqualify me because one of the requirements was that your parents cannot currently own a home. So currently my parents do own a home, so that automatically disqualified me.
Yes.
Last year I would have qualified,
Yes.
but I was not ready last year to start the whole process.
And for that Dream for All, just so everybody knows, it was just a program that was given for a limited time. So if you were not prepared for that program when it was available, you missed out on it because it was gone like in a blink of an eye. And so the people that were excited for it to come back and were mentally preparing for it, they ended up changing the guidelines. So it was kind of discouraging for some, but still an advantage for others as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it did kind of feel like it was a roadblock. Of course, I was like, oh, here's another thing. But once I got over
So
it,
you're not the only one.
yeah, yeah. Once I got over it, I'm like, okay, kind of just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and be like, okay, well, there has to be another way.
Yeah, figure out another solution, basically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that meant you didn't give up. So you saw the Dream for All and you wanted to go for that program, and then you're like, you know what? I'm just going to talk to my lender and see what other options are available for me. And you were actually able to get one of the better programs. So there's USDA, it's 100% financing, CalHFA, and then there's FHA for the minimum first time home buyer that everybody calls that program, but in reality is just a regular loan. It's a government loan, but it requires you to put 3.5%. You had a conventional loan, so that's kind of more like on top of all of them. But you were blessed enough to do the minimum, which is 3%. And a lot of the times, people have to do 5 to 10 on a conventional, or even 20%. But you were able to do it with 3% now, which was great.
Yeah, yeah, with 3%, which was really helpful in the sense of like, hey, I want to keep some cash on reserves for, whatever may happen to, kind of make some fixes to the home, add some personal touches. So yeah, I definitely wanted to hoard as much of my cash as possible. So that program allowed me to do that. What was interesting is that I did have to take like a first time home buyer
Class.
Yeah.
Yes. So everybody that has low down payments, they have to take that class for, awareness, acknowledgement of what you're getting into, what the difference is between 80% of loan to value, 100% financing, all that stuff. So yes,
Mhm.
and it's a good program for you to really understand
Yeah.
how that program actually works.
And I wish I would have known about that class kind of before, in the sense of like maybe like 2 or 3 years ago when I
Mm-hmm.
was just kind of like looking
Starting,
around,
yeah.
starting. Yeah. Because I know there's a lot of information, out there. There's YouTube and there's podcasts and blogs and everything. But that one was a really good resource as well. But I'm glad that I did
Yeah,
it now.
because when you look up YouTube videos or Instagram, you only see snippets, or even maybe they're outdated, or maybe they don't apply to you, so the
Mhm.
information might be not accurate anymore. Like for example, if you would have seen the Dream for All, the last year one, in a YouTube video today, you're thinking those are the same requirements, not knowing that there's new updated requirements.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then yeah, a lot of like the some of the information that I learned from there was like, what type of programs are there if you fall within different demographics,
Mm-hmm.
which was really interesting to learn. And then also, yeah, exactly, like if you what to look out for, and kind of what to expect in the whole process. So yeah, it was actually quite long. I think it took me like 3 or 4 hours, because I actually was interested and I
Uh-huh.
was watching the tutorials. I wasn't just kind of clicking through, because I do think that it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do this correct. I want to do this the right way. I want to be a
Mm-hmm.
responsible homeowner. Um, so I was very invested in that course.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great to know that, because everybody, some people just kind of scan through it. Some people actually engage on it, so it's good information overall.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and Daniel, so we're in escrow technically still. Tomorrow, you signed yesterday, and tomorrow we'll be closing. How are you actually feeling? Like, tell me exactly how you feel right now.
Yeah, I am. I'm ready for I'm ready for the new chapter to start.
Right.
So I'm really excited. I keep kind of envisioning of like small changes that I'm gonna do to the home. Yeah, I'm super excited, super really happy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this it's been a great experience, but yeah, I can't wait to finally like get the keys.
Hands on, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited to kind of just do a lot of DIYs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was another big thing that I wanted to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think tomorrow morning everything should be like done, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to
Yeah, I'm
it.
gonna be calling you saying congratulations, and
Yeah.
texting you the uh Montana. What's his name? Um, the video where it says congratulations,
Oh
and
yeah.
Joe Montana, or what's
French.
French
French
Montana.
Montana.
I'm like something Montana.
Yeah,
He's
yeah. I
congratulations.
can't wait to get it. Can't wait to get it. Yeah.
So, really quick at the beginning, you said about being remote,
Hmm.
and I think it's important to talk about that. Because there's a lot of people out there that have works that are remote, or basically they work from home. They can work from anywhere. Those type of people, such as yourself,
Hmm.
can actually buy anywhere in the state of California, because it gives them the ability to say that they can work from anywhere. Basically, most of the times people are limited to purchasing within certain mileage from where they work at. So, how was your experience with that? Because you said you were living down south,
Yeah.
and so you barely moved over here a couple months ago. So, you didn't have to worry about waiting and, finding a place over there because you were working over there.
Yeah.
How,
Yeah.
how, what can you tell our followers, or, the people that are watching this, that's beneficial for you on that part?
Yeah, so it all started with with the pandemic. So we all kind of had the opportunity to be hybrid employees,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as everybody kind of went home in 2020 or 2021. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember now.
So
But
long ago.
yeah. Yeah. So I split my time between LA and here. So one of the things that I was able to do, was when I worked with my lender is, their big thing was like, okay, we have to be sure that that your work does allow you to live a certain or work from a certain distance from your headquarters,
Mm-hmm.
which is LA. So I'm close enough up here where I can just go down there for meetings and such. But it did open up a world of opportunities with remote work.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, as we all know, the Los Angeles market is really super hot and
Yeah.
will always stay hot and
Yeah.
really inflated. So and I kind of wanted something that was a bit closer to family and something that was a bit, kind of more open spaces. So, yeah, I feel pretty lucky that I got the opportunity to kind of venture away from kind of near my HQ for work, and that was just something as simple as talking to them,
Mm-hmm.
and they completely know how close I am, and it's something that was an open conversation from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And that's very important. So, if you have that opportunity, talk to your lender, reach out to me and see what options we got for you. If you're working in Bakersfield and you want to transfer over here, you don't have to do an actual job transfer. It just, as long as you're working remotely, then you can buy anywhere.
Yeah, 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 and it's funny too because I was thinking like, oh,
Debating between.
yeah, yeah. It's funny because we had that conversation about because I'm pretty familiar with the kind of Joshua Tree Yucca
Yeah,
Valley, so we had talked about that.
that's right.
So that is only about maybe 2 hours from LA.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did talk about that, but I did at one point also think like, okay, well, there's really anywhere in the states I can go, but that's not true. I was like, oh, like, and I
Well,
even though.
realistically, you could, but do you really want to? That's
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
like the question.
Yeah. So sometimes you kind of fall in lust with like
Yeah,
the some prices of some states, and
yeah.
but then when you really think about it, it's like, okay, what, like, what's important to you? And to me, it
Hmm.
was family, and I mean, yeah, just
And
like
that's kind of what, the conversation that I had with him. I was like, write down, what your pros and cons, the difference between, Joshua Tree and Yucca Valley and versus over here, like, are you able to sacrifice, a couple years down the line to live over there, or what are your plans, or are you wanting to stay here with family, so those are the things that are more on a personal level. So I always tell my clients, focus on your needs versus your wants, because I want $1 million house ranch on the beach, but do I really need, that? I can be satisfied with the 3 bedroom house in Atascadero or whatever.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, your needs and wants are so different. So,
Yeah. Or you could, go buy your mansion somewhere that's not California, but then you're not going to be near your family. And
yeah.
I know that's a really rudimentary way to look at it, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the way kind of I had to talk to myself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sure, you can go buy something super big elsewhere, but it's kind of the community around you that's important.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another thing, family and community.
Yeah,
Um,
community is very important. They say proximity is everything. So
yeah,
it's who you surround yourself with. And if there's nobody there, or, different mindsets and stuff like that, it just kind of sets you apart from what you know,
yeah,
your goals and aspirations are.
yeah, yeah. And I do feel like the Central Coast is a very unique, beautiful, like uh rich, like super like rich, and many things to do, like so I do feel like this is a perfect spot. I like it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
mix of a lot of things.
And it's growing. It's growing. The potential's there. So, safe community. The
Mm,
beaches are literally, 15, 20 minutes, depending on where you're at. If you're in Arroyo Grande, Atascadero,
yeah,
everything's just pretty close proximity.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's why I definitely wanted
And the weather.
yeah, and the weather.
And the wine.
Yeah, especially the wine. That was another thing too. I was like, there's no wine in Joshua Tree.
Well, you can take bottles over there.
Right, it did have a lot of good wine shops.
But overall, so you, when you made the decision to be a homeowner and you started talking to me, I know that we didn't look at too many houses. We only saw 2 houses.
Yeah, just two.
And you fell in love right away with the second. I mean, you obviously fell in love with the first one, but
Hmm.
then once you saw the second one, price and location and how it looked, a
Yeah.
super cute house.
Hmm.
Um, you didn't have to go and look at 20 houses or compete with other buyers. How was that experience for you? You're one of those lucky ones.
Yeah, yeah, I do feel like yeah, you're right. We only saw two places, and I think also, kind of for like my budget helped me a lot, kind of like narrow it down. So that was helpful. But I feel like I didn't really make many I see this house as like a stepping stone.
Hmm.
So is it like my forever dream house?
Hmm.
Probably not. But is it a stepping stone to the
Absolutely.
next one? Yes. So I don't feel like I made any like concessions per se because I love everything about it.
Hmm.
Um, and I do find that you know, being in this area and being close enough to like the things that I want to do was like exactly what I was looking for. Um, there's a difference between like being like closer to town or being like a little further out from town,
Hmm.
but those are things that I enjoy. So I
Yeah,
enjoy,
preference. Because
yeah.
I have clients that are like, nope, I don't want to go to Shannon. I don't want to go to San Miguel. I want to be in town, which is great, you know. And then I have other people that want to be outside and outskirts. So like as further out as I can, Geneseo, whatever. So
Hmm.
then we're only specifically looking for certain areas for specific clients. So it's all about preference, like
Hmm.
some people like it, some people don't. And for you, you had the option in town or a little bit in the outskirts. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I grew up out there. So I think maybe in like my subconscious,
Hmm.
there was already something that was tugging
Home.
at me that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the terrain out there, kind of, towards like Heritage Ranch and the lake and stuff.
And the
Um,
community, you already have friends and,
yeah, yeah, I have friends out
and you spend a
there.
lot of time up there. So,
Yeah, I really do.
so it's like you're already at home. So that's
Yeah,
why I felt like home.
yeah, and what's fun is that like I play a lot of like pickleball and
Uh-huh.
stuff. So there's like pickleball courts out there, and there's like a pool, there's a gym, there's a grocery store.
Hmm. That
So
pizza place, that's bomb.
yeah, that pizza place. So if I don't need to come into town, I won't come into town for like a week. Um, but yeah, I think one of the big things was when I saw the home that we're about to close on, that I'm about to
Hmm.
close on, that I just want to go for it. Like I didn't want to wait.
Hmm.
What am I going to wait for in the sense of like I know this area is at least from what I've observed, more
Hmm.
things do move pretty quickly.
Hmm.
Um, and but one of the advantages, as you said, was that yeah, there wasn't there's and it could be different, but yeah, I didn't have to fight other like buyers off and
Hmm.
like go over asking and things like
Hmm.
that. Maybe because of the time we're in, I'm assuming. But I did have the leeway um, to kind of process it in a more like calm way rather than be like frantic, like drop
Make
every
your decision right
contingency.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, because in Joshua Tree, years ago or whenever, I think you've
Yeah.
told me
Uh-huh.
everybody was dropping contingencies and stuff,
Yes.
and it's like
Yeah.
I'm
And
glad.
contingencies are basically like stages of the process. So we have within 3 days, you have to make an earnest money deposit in good faith. If you don't make that, that's kind of like you're not going through with the contract. So they'll send you a notice to perform, and then the next contingency basically is inspections. And then from there is the appraisal and then the loan contingency. And a lot of the times people were dropping the appraisal contingency because they were like, we'll pay whatever for this house. And they were going over asking. They didn't care what the house was worth. They were going to pay for it. Or inspections. They were waiving inspections because they didn't care. They're like, well, just take it. Just give me the house and we'll take it as is.
Yeah.
And sometimes the loan contingency, the only time that they can remove that is if they were paying cash. So otherwise, they would probably just keep it there unless, they're willing to take the risk and lose their deposit if the loan doesn't go through.
Yeah. Yep.
But other
Yeah.
than that, I mean, I think it was pretty good. I think it was timing more than all. We had come out of like Christmas season,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the times people are we're in that little spot between tax season and coming back from Christmas, because if we would have waited probably another week or so, we would have
Mm.
had multiple offers. We had multiple offers on the one on 28th Street.
Oh,
So
right.
It's just, location, timing, and marketing and price. I mean, there's a combination of a lot of things. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it was and I didn't, I don't have the luxury of being able to be like, oh, to drop. Like I wanted to make the decision like fully aware and like lucid in my
yeah,
decisions, and not
not
just
in
be
pressure, basically.
like no pressure. And I feel like it completely it went that way because it was something that's taken me a while to get to
hmm
this point, and so I wanted to tread carefully.
hmm Yeah, no, I thought it was a great opportunity for you. Perfect little house. And I'm excited for you. Um, any other concerns or anything that you can think of that can help other people out there, first time home buyers? Any process that maybe?
Yeah, I mean, to be, I feel like I mean, just like the money saving one, is a big one in the sense of like, um, I was able to pick up like side gigs, which
Mm-hmm.
really like helped me, kind of earn some more money, which kind of helped with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then as far as, I feel like we all kind of, uh, we're all on Redfin and we're all on Zillow and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And, I just remember kind of, I would like look at that every morning
Mm-hmm.
and multiple times throughout the day. So I would say like, just kind of keep, like keep your hopes up if,
Yeah. Stay motivated.
yeah, stay motivated. Find somebody like I found you
Oh, thank you.
yeah, you completely like went to bat for me. I would ask you some questions as I wasn't sure really of what I was asking, and you would completely be like, "Oh yeah, like I got it. Like don't worry about it." And then you'd call me like 2 hours later and be like, "Oh, like it's done. Don't worry about it." And I'd be like, "What? Like how's that like possible?" So I really admire that of you.
Thank you. I
Um,
appreciate that.
yeah, so I would say a big thing is, finding somebody um, that you guys work really well with together. And then other things with the home buying process. I guess it would be also I guess I would say too like maybe, and you probably know from the both sides, but I don't know, who would you say has the most leverage, like the buyer or the seller? Like, I guess when you're kind of in contract, there's some leverage there.
Mm-hmm.
So you can begin to, if there's something that doesn't feel right,
Mm-hmm.
just talk it out
Mm-hmm.
and, have, you went, to bat for me with different multiple things. And I did feel like, the ball was kind of in our court. So we kind of used that in a great, way to make the deal happen. And of course, keeping mindful of everybody in the transaction is happy. So I would say, just be, if there's something that's not, doesn't feel right, just talk it out.
Yeah, communication is key, basically. And as far as leverage, I would say, we as individuals, as realtors, that's our job, right? So I'm here for the best interest of you. If I'm representing the seller, then I'm in the best interest of the seller. So it technically comes down to the person that's actually going to be representing you. Are they going to, you know, bat for you, go and bat for you, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But that's our job, and that's why I was able, when you call me, you're like, hey, how do I do this? I'm like, don't worry, I got it. And I ended up handling it,
Yeah.
and because that's, like I said, that's my job. And so my job is here to protect you and to be here for the best benefit of you and my clients. And and as far as communication, like you said, it is very important to have that good relationship with all parties involved, whether you agree or disagree with certain things. At the end of the day, in the future, we might have to work together, so we can't really burn any bridges. I have to like bite my tongue or whatever.
Yeah.
But out of respect for everybody, is just like, hey, I'm just doing my job. Nothing personal. It's just business, and that's pretty much it. Because like I said, we're gonna have to work with each other at one point sometime, because they might have another listing, or I might have a listing and I might have a buyer, and so communication is very, very, very important.
Yeah. 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 I feel like, that's a big one.
Hmm
And I do feel like you were able to kind of make everything really clear for me. Um, And then, yeah, I would say also just, kind of trying to get familiar with the process. And there's so many things that like the lender needs and
Yeah,
stuff.
there is a lot of things. I mean, we don't really know, you know, the actual aspect of the deal until we're in the deal, and everybody is completely different. Like I would say, like, okay, our transaction is going super smooth, right? Okay, perfect. Contingencies and inspections and this and that and credits, and then boom, there's something, and then you're like, what?
Hmm.
So it's like every transaction is different. It's always a learning experience. I mean, I've had experience from, wanting, $6 on a credit, for assets, to something like we need an engineer cert on a foundation on a manufactured home, and we're like, what? We already have that on the 433A. No, we need an engineering cert. So another sort of recertification for that. And you're like, what? I've never had to deal with that before. But it's just like every transaction, there's always something. So it just depends on who the lucky one is. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you were feeling all excited and everything, and all of a sudden, there's another roadblock.
yeah,
But we ended up handling it. So it's like you said, the lender requests us things, and it's not that the lender um, didn't turn in something or that he missed something. It's just that there's like different people in the transaction. So there's a lender, there's an underwriter, there's a processor, and then there's the actual bank.
yeah,
So before it hits the bank, the lender is like the front face of the transaction and is collecting all the data from you, then sends it to the processor. The processor kind of fixes it up and puts it in the right places, then submits it to the underwriter. Now, if the underwriter sees that the bank statement is from February 28, and now we're in March, they're like, oh, we need an updated bank statement. You're like, what?
yeah,
It's not even here yet. Oh, we have to wait or whatever. So, I mean, it's just little things like they're constantly going to be asking until we close, close, close. So that's what I'm saying. Until we're done, 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 we're done.
yeah, yeah.
Because anything can happen.
Right.
I'm
So we
like,
have like 12 hours to
yeah, I'm like,
close.
don't get married, don't go buying stuff, do
Yeah,
not quit your job, do not
yeah.
change your job.
Hmm.
All these major things that I reemphasize to my clients at the beginning. Sometimes it's not always enough. It's always like, hey,
Hmm.
why did you take out $5,000 out of your bank account? The bank wants to know where'd you
Yeah,
So now they want a letter of explanation, or where did this deposit come from? So these are things that the lender doesn't say anything at the beginning because you never know. The underwriter might not question it. But then you might be the lucky one that the underwriter's like, wait a second, we need that letter of explanation, or we need a rental agreement, or we need a new pay stub, or
yeah,
whatever the
yeah,
scenario is. So
yeah,
yes, they're always going to be asking.
yeah. There's gonna be always gonna be something.
But now you're going to be prepared for the next one,
Yeah,
in the future.
yeah. So that is another aspect that I'm excited to learn about and that I explore is like how do I then in 2-3 years or so kind of leverage this one to maybe buy something else
Mm-hmm.
and then go into the whole world of ref- I get refinancing or taking out home equity but
Mm-hmm.
then is that really the best thing to do da, da, da. But it'll be a fun learning process
Mm-hmm.
and I would like I said would like to kind of use this as a
Stepping stone.
stepping stone.
Yeah, and as far as like the line of credit or getting a second loan or refinancing, it all basically comes down to, again, your needs. If the rates went down, if it's going to be beneficial for you or not. What are you going to pull that money for? Is it just to waste it, or is it going to be to invest it in something else? I mean,
Hmm.
there's a lot of questions that could be asked once we cross that bridge, or whatever you
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
But opportunities are endless now that you're a homeowner.
Hmm.
You, instead of paying rent to somebody, now you're going to be basically putting that money aside in your own personal bank account, which
Yeah,
is your house.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and that was another thing, I should have said earlier is that, like the whole like, oh, interest rates right now are high, da 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 da,
Mm-hmm.
and like, so me, yes, of course we all know what they were in the pandemic, but I don't really know what they were before. But I
Mm-hmm.
keep hearing like, hey, rates were actually pretty high before, so like it was just the pandemic that's brought them
Mm-hmm.
so low. But the thing that I wanted to do is like, okay, yeah, maybe they're a little high right now, but I also feel that it was a good opportunity for me because they're kind of high. There's not a lot of competition.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I just want to get my hands on something. I just want to get into something. And maybe 2, 3 years down the road, if rates come down significantly, then I already have something. Like I don't
Exactly.
have to fight people um, for a house. I
Mm-hmm.
already have it. I can just refinance. And hopefully, if rates do come down more, I can take advantage of that. But the big hurdle, which is finding the home, is
Mm-hmm.
already like behind me.
Mm-hmm.
So I did think about that a lot. I'm like, hey, if rates, okay, of course, we would all love a lower rate, but I'm like, if rates go down, like everybody's like on the sidelines. It
Mm-hmm.
seems like waiting. So it's like, okay, when I go
Yeah.
down, then they'll like jump in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like with inventory here in the Central Coast, Paso Robles being so low,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and people coming both from, like the big metros here,
Yeah.
like,
The Bay Area and then LA area.
LA area,
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna, I felt like I was not gonna have much of an opportunity if I waited much longer until like rates were kind of low and things started to get more competitive. So that was another, pushing what kind of pushed me over to really start the process was like, what do people say? Like you're married to something, but you're
Oh
dating.
yeah. So marry the house and date the rate. So
Yeah,
basically, you have the house that you want, but the rate you can, shop it around later. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
basically what that means.
So yeah, that
Marry
makes
the
me feel
house, date
good.
the rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I'm glad you brought it up because a lot of my clients say the same thing. Oh, we're just going to wait till the market crashes. Oh, we're going to wait till the rates go down. So originally, before the pandemic, I had clients that were like, and we were looking at houses in the 300s, okay? High threes, low fours, and multiple clients of mine that were like, "Oh, we'll just wait till the market crashes or they're too expensive," and then all of a sudden, COVID hit and rates dropped drastically, and yes, the rates dropped, but then all of a sudden there was a frenzy of people because now everybody can get qualified, and now everybody was kind of outbidding each other. So now the house that was 400 now was like 450. Next thing you know, it's 500, and then it's 550, and then now on 600. So it was just kind of like outbidding each other, and because they were removing contingencies, they were paying whatever it was. So if they said I'm buying the house for 550, even though the last one sold for 450, they were paying 550. So now they were making they were changing the market. So I always tell my
Oh.
clients, we change the market. We as consumers change the market. If
Mm-hmm.
there's a demand, right, of housing, like I want a house, I want a house, I want a house, then you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have multiple buyers, and they're the ones that are gonna outbid each other, and they make the market. Now, if we have a lot of houses for sale,
Mm-hmm.
but not a lot of buyers, then we're also determining the market because we're letting those houses sit. Now they're doing price reductions, and then it
Oh.
starts kind of trickling down.
Yeah.
So we are the ones technically that always control the market, and that's why they say when they see the headlines on the news like, oh, market crisis or
Mm-hmm.
market rates or this and that, they just see the headlines in metro areas, but
Oh.
every city and every town is different. So we can't compare our inventory here to Bakersfield.
Uh-huh.
Bakersfield cannot compare their inventory to the LA area. So now we have clients saying, oh, I'm just going to wait till the rates drop. I'm going to, so it's kind of the same thing that you were telling me. So it's either prices go down or the rates go down. But what they don't know is that they're missing opportunity, because I always tell my clients the right time is going to be the right time for you as an individual,
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter if the rate is low. If you're not mentally prepared or prepared to make that step, like you said in
Mm-hmm.
COVID, you're like, I wasn't prepared. Then what was the point of the rates being low? You
True.
couldn't buy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So later on, if the market crashes or whatever, but you're in the same situation where you can't buy,
Yeah.
then it doesn't matter.
Right.
You can have the best tools, but if you can't utilize them, then they're irrelevant.
Yeah.
So I always tell them, if see what you qualify for right now. If it fits in your budget and you feel comfortable with it, and that's a step that you're willing to take, because basically it's up to you if you're willing to take that step or not. Because most of the time, and I would say a big percentage of the time, it's more mental commitment.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like if I say, hey, we've been living together, not that we are, but just say me and you were living together, right? And then all of a sudden, hey, you want to marry me? Now it's like, it's a commitment. And
Oh.
it's more
Right.
like a mental commitment, even though we're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And right
Yeah.
now, our clients are already making that mortgage payment for somebody else.
For somebody
Why
else.
can't
Yeah.
they make it for themselves? It's not necessarily that they can't. It's just that they don't want to make that commitment, or they're
Yeah.
afraid. I would
Yeah.
say it's more afraid of an actual commitment, like, oh, I'm going to be stuck with this. But in
Yeah.
reality, rents continue to go up
Yeah.
and your mortgage can only go lower. If you refinance and you lower your rate, your mortgage payment is going to get lower.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Exactly. Which is, something that definitely a potential for that in the future.
yeah.
Rates go
So
down.
you should be very proud of yourself for taking that risk, even if it's not your forever home, like you said. It's just a stepping stone, but you're going to be building equity that you can eventually utilize for something better,
Mm-hmm.
or keep it and buy something else.
Yeah.
And now your potential is like limitless, or whatever you say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or there's no limits basically to what you could do now moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a good point. So all the people out there, do not get discouraged. Ask, and you should receive, like they say. You should
Yeah.
receive your answers.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's good to hear you say that because especially somebody who's like new like me, first time home buyer too, I wanted to take everything slow. So then instead of like you were saying, instead of having to bid against 10 people, maybe you bid against like one, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's like three of you,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes it so much smoother.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't, yeah, yeah,
And don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying like to rush to things, because like you said, I want to take things slow, which is great because I want you guys to be aware. I want you guys to ask questions. I want you to know what you're getting into. I don't want you to just get, jumped into something and be like, oh, I didn't even know what I got myself into. That's not what we're saying here. I'm just saying, like, get informed that there's opportunity out there for you.
yeah.
There's hope. I always tell my clients, the last thing that you can lose is hope. Is just, asking the right questions and asking the right people, basically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's perfect because maybe because the right time for me was now, and maybe like later down the road, when there's 10 people bidding on the house, it's not going to be the right time for me because
Exactly.
I'm not going to be
Exactly.
throwing cash around.
Yeah,
Um, so I guess that's like you said, there's a right time for everybody, and that's unique for everybody.
exactly. So, Daniel, do you want to close with a quote or a saying or anything?
Let me see. Yeah, I mean, I yeah, I guess I would say with just I guess I would just say that, be sure to just try to get like okay, so one of the big things that helped me in this journey was really getting to know my credit report.
Good
So
point. Another
I
podcast.
I signed up for Experian,
Mm-hmm.
and I would check that religiously. Every I mean Experian, like I would check it every day. And then you would get your three reports, and I would religiously check it. So I mean, my like ending advice would be like, if you're looking to move on to the next step, and you're going to be using a lender, like know your credit report like the back of your hand. I think that's very important,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of gives you a picture of where you're at, where you need to improve, and also, using credit wisely was a big thing for
Mm-hmm.
me in the last 2 years. So I know, we all get things in the mail like all the time, but you just whatever's important to you, um, choose the credit wisely and just kind of know where you're at. That way,
Mm-hmm.
when you're ready, you're like fully informed, and you can just kind of start the process.
Yes, that's a great, great point. And that will be another podcast because that's very, 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 very important. So yeah, download your Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion, whichever one. Either one of them has a free 3 credit report, and you're able to get one every year, or you can sign up with them on a monthly basis. There's also an app called My FICO, and that gives you all 3 FICOs, and it gives you, like, if you were to buy a house, if you were to get a car loan or a credit card. So because not everybody runs the same type of credit, so it's very important to know the difference. But other than that, congratulations on your closing tomorrow. I'm really excited, and
Thank
I want to
you.
say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to help you, and hopefully I'm able to help other people in the future. I would love the opportunity for me to help you guys out, and I'm very, very, very excited for you. So
Thank you. I appreciate it. You made the entire process seamless. I am really just happy how much you were invested in my success.
thank you.
And I can't imagine like, working with anybody else. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot.
Good. Good.
Well, everyone, have a blessed and productive day. And also, if you guys have any questions or any concerns you guys want us to talk about, please send me a message. And thank you for coming.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.